Ever wondered what it takes to become a
hacker?
A major key lies in mastering a skill that empowers you like no other.
Linux.
Linux is an operating system,
Just like Windows.
but with a crucial distinction: it's open source. Being open source means that its source code is accessible and modifiable by anyone, which is why if you search for Linux distributions on Google, you'll come across various versions of Linux customized by different developers. But why switch to Linux for hacking? What's wrong with Windows or Mac OS? Well, for one, Linux is extensively used in the realm of hacking and cybersecurity, due to which it offers a wide range of powerful hacking tools and frameworks that are not readily available on other operating systems. Furthermore, as an aspiring hacker, whenever you'll search for how to do something that is related to hacking on the internet, you'll likely come across a tutorial or article featuring Linux. That's why in this video, first we're gonna cover some basic Linux terminal commands that will help you in getting started, and then we'll look at the Linux file system to get an understanding of how the Linux operating system works. So let's get started. Okay, so what exactly is the Linux terminal, and what does Linux commands even mean? Well, before I get into that, if you don't have a Linux distribution already up and running, I would recommend you to pause this video here, and go watch a short guide I put together on how to download and install Kali Linux, a Linux distribution used by hackers on a virtual machine, by clicking on the I button above. Anyway, coming back to the topic, you see, many Linux distributions, specifically Kali Linux, is GUI, which means that it has some attractive icons, a dock, menus, and other stuff. And you can use Linux through these things, but as a hacker, it isn't meant to be used like this. The true power of Linux is that you don't use GUI. You use the Linux terminal, also known as the command line. And the Linux terminal is this guy right here, so go and click on that. So this is Mr. Terminal, and you are supposed to use Linux through him. Now if you are coming from the GUI-only world, where all you use is a graphical user interface, this might seem a little scary. I totally get it, but don't worry, I'm gonna walk you through this by teaching you a few simple commands. So go ahead and have your Linux terminal open like this, and also at the same time, open up your home directory right here. So I'm going to teach you your first commands by doing something here in the GUI, and then doing the same thing here in the Linux terminal. Now what I love about GUI, is that you always kind of know where you are, because you can see it. Like right now I'm in my user directory, because I can see it right here. And this is all my stuff. But over here in the Linux terminal, I don't see anything. How do I know where I am? Well, we are going to solve that using our first command, pwd. Pwd stands for print working directory, and it basically does what we see in the GUI here. It tells us where we're at. So let's try it out. Go ahead and hit enter. And as you can see, it shows us the full path of where we are right now, the home directory, and even further drilling down, the user directory, meaning that right now, we are in the same spot as our GUI. Now you might be wondering, okay cool, we know where we are, but we still don't see the same stuff in the terminal as in the GUI, like folders of desktop, downloads and stuff. Here comes our next command. Type it with me, ls. ls stands for list, and it simply lists the contents of your current working directory, meaning it will simply list what we see right here in the GUI. So let's go ahead and hit enter. And boom, as you can see that, everything we could see in the GUI, we can now also see in Mr. Terminal. Now let's say, what if we need to take a peek inside our desktop folder right here? For GUI, we can just double click on it, and see what we have inside it. But how do we do that in the terminal? Well, here comes our next command, cd. cd stands for change directory, and it's going to do exactly what we just did here. So let's do it right now. After cd I'll hit space, and tell it what directory I want to go to. So let's type in desktop, and hit enter. Well, did it work? I don't know. Let's find out using the pwd command. And as you can see, we are indeed in the desktop folder. And to see what is in the desktop folder, like we can see in the GUI, we can simply use the ls command once again. But now how can we go back? Like in the GUI here, we can just click on the back button, and go to the directory we started in. How do we do this in terminal? It's actually pretty easy. So again we are going to type in cd, then a space, and put in 2 dots here. And upon hitting enter, cd ... will take us back to our previous directory. Now back to our desktop directory. How can we remove or delete something? Like here in the GUI, if I want to remove this file, I can simply right click on it, and select delete to delete it. So how do we do that here in the terminal? Well, that's where the rm command comes in. Rm stands for remove, and as its name suggests, it can remove a file in the working directory. To use it, just type in rm hit space, and type in the name of the file you want to remove. And upon hitting enter, you will see that the file we had on the desktop folder is now gone. You can also create a folder in the working directory using the mkdir command. To use it, type in mkdir space, and then type in the name that you would like to give your folder. And as you can see, it created a folder right here on the desktop for us. But now if we try to remove it with the rm command, it gives us an error. Why is that? Well, that's because this is a directory, and to remove a directory, we also add in a -r after typing in the rm command like this. Next, we have the man or man command. What this command is it displays the user manual of any command that we can run on the terminal. For example, if I type man, and then type in rm followed by a space, it will tell us what this command does and how can we use it. This is a pretty cool and useful command for beginners.
Chapter 2, the Linux file system.
Okay, so far, we've learned a few basic commands like ls, which lists all the things in our current working directory. The cd command, which changes our current directory to somewhere else. The pwd command, which will tell us where we are. And we even saw that, if we type in cd ... it will take us back to where we were. But I wonder where will we end up, if we keep going back in the terminal. Let's find out. cd ... Okay, so we are in the home directory now. Let's try cd ... once again. And now we are in this / directory. Now if we try to go back once again, you'll notice that we are still in this / directory. Why is that? Well, that's because we have reached the end. So what is this / and what does it mean? Well, this / symbolizes the root of the file system, and this is basically from where everything in Linux starts. And from here we are also starting the second part of our video. So let's clear our terminal by typing in the clear command real quick. Okay, so now what's here? What's at the root of the file system? Let's find out by typing ls. So we can see a bunch of stuff. Let's look at them one by one. But before we do that, I want to get one big idea across to you real quick. And the big idea is that everything in Linux is a file, and I mean everything. From your network settings to your computer's input-output devices, everything is a file. They are represented as a file in Linux. Now even more crazy thing is that the commands we use are also files. What? You don't believe me? Let me show you. So let's jump into this first directory here, called bin. cd bin. Bin stands for binary, and as we all know, binary is the language that computer understands. So inside the bin folder are the command binaries, meaning that the commands which tell our computer what to do are stored here. So let's take a look inside by typing ls, and there you go. These are all the commands you'll end up using in Linux. So let's scroll up and find ls. And as you can see, this sucker is a file. So basically the command you use to list files is actually itself a file. Now you might be wondering that if this is a file, we should be able to bust it open and see what's inside. Well, we can do that. And to do that, we use a new command cat. What this command is it just takes a file and throws the output on our terminal. So type cat followed by ls like this, and hit enter. Well, we got a lot of spit here. Now do you understand any of this? Because if you do, you might be a robot. A normal human should not be able to understand any of this, as this is the command binary. When you type in ls, this is what it tells the computer to do. Okay, so back to the root of the file system. We just talked about bin, which stores all of our essential commands, but there's also another directory over here, called sbin, or I would like to refer to it as superbin. Now superbin is just like bin, but it's a bit more special. You see, superbin has some special commands that only system administrators would use to administer the system. Let me show you. So let's jump into superbin real quick. And if we ls inside superbin, we can see the cool commands that only admins can use. Let's take a look at one, and actually use it real quick. Let's use this one, add user. And if you haven't guessed already, what this command is it will add ourselves a new user. So let's do that real quick. I'm going to clear my screen, and then type in add user, space, and then the name of the user I want to add. Let's go with test. But it gave us an error saying, only root may add user to the system. How do we fix that? Well, sometimes in Linux, you have to say please. And to say please in Linux, we'll type in a command called sudo, before our add user command. So sudo, space add user, space test. Now we will end up covering what sudo means. But for right now, just know that we weren't allowed to use the add user command in this directory, as we didn't have permissions. But by using the sudo command, we can pretend to be the root or the admin user for just this one command. So let's try it out. Now every time you use the sudo command, you have to type in the password for the user you are currently logged in as. So go ahead and type in the password. And after hitting enter, the add user command will run and will start creating a user. Next, just give the new user you created a password, and skip the rest of the stuff. So we just added a user using the add user command, and these are the type of commands that are located in sbin or superbin. Now let's get back to root. So now we know that bin has our essential commands, and superbin has our super essential commands. But now we're going to jump into our user, or the usr directory. So let's type in cd usr, and then type in ls, to see what's inside. Now do you notice something strange? Inside the usr directory, we also have a bin and an sbin. So what's going on here? Does these have the same commands as the bin and sbin in the root directory? Let's take a look inside to find out. Well, bin in the user directory looks the same as bin in the root directory to me. In fact, it is the same, as it has the same commands. Now let's check out if the sbin in user directory also has the same commands as the sbin in the root directory. And yes, they seem to have the same commands here as well. So what is going on? It seems like we have some imposters here. Like, which one is the real one? Bin in root, or bin in the user directory? Well, the answer is both. They're both real. But that begs the question that, when we use the ls command, are we using the command stored in root bin, or the usr bin? We can actually find that out, using our new command, where is. This command is basically used to find out where our command binaries live. So let's find out where our ls command actually is. And it is in the user bin, and not the root bin. Now let's see where is cat. And it's also in the user bin. The user directory also has some fun stuff like libraries, that the command binaries share. And apparently it has games, that's fun. Okay, moving forward, let's get back to our root directory. Now real quick, speed round. Boot. What is that? Well, it has all the files that our system needs to boot. Var will have things like log files and web applications. We will talk more about that later. Temporary or TMP has all the files that go away after our system reboots or something. Okay, speed round done. Let's discuss some more key directories here. First, home. Home is where every user lives on their system. So let's take a look inside. CD home. So we can see two homes on our system. One is our home, and the other is of the user we added earlier. Now if we CD into the other user's home, and ls his stuff, we can see his furniture. Now earlier I mentioned that even our computer's input-output devices are also files, and those files are stored here in the dev directory, which stands for devices. The etc directory, also called the etc file here, contains all the settings and configurations of your Linux system. And after a few weeks of using Linux, you will go here a lot, due to the configuration files of your system being stored here. Next, we only have two more things to cover and then we are done for today. So here we have the MNT and the media directory. Now they both do the same thing, which is mounting drives, but media basically mounts things automatically for you, whereas the MNT directory is there for you to mount drives manually using commands. Anyway guys, this wraps up the video, summing up what we've learned today. We first saw how we can use our Linux machine through the command line, by doing something in the GUI and performing the same task in the terminal, using multiple commands. Then we covered what the main directories of Linux are actually for, and where files are stored to gain a good understanding of the Linux operating system itself. Now as I mentioned earlier in the video, as a hacker, Linux is meant to be used through the command line. That's why I would recommend you to go and watch this video where I cover 40 essential Linux commands in 5 minutes. With that being said, I wish you all the best on your journey to learn Linux and become a hacker. If you have any questions regarding the video, make sure to ask them in the comments section below, and I will see you in the next one.